Ready for tonight? I'm as ready as
One night
Miami.
in Miami. That's right. One night in Miami.
Don't be late.
The
Right?
director, writer, Regina King. Screenplay, Kemp Powers.
That's right. Kemp Powers. Now, Kemp Powers, this is based on a play that Kemp Powers created, right? And it is a stage play that he turned into a screenplay, and it is Regina King in her first feature film directorial debut, right? And it is about the night that Ali beat Sonny Liston, and the after celebration that included Malcolm X, Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and of course Muhammad. Then
Ali. Yeah.
Then it was Cassius Clay. They call me Cassius, right? Cassius Clay, right? So what's very interesting about this film is it is one man's depiction, Mr. Kemp's depiction on what the behind the scenes conversations were like. It begins with each of the protagonists in the film. They're protagonists and antagonists at the same time. It's very interesting. But the protagonists each having a moment that's not too great for them, right? Leading into that ultimate one night in Miami where they have had ultimate triumphs, right? Leading into this meeting in the hotel room, right? The meeting in the hotel room is very it gets to the psyche of American blacks, because there are 4 black men in the room that are all about the advancement of American black people, but they have different ways of going about it. And Malcolm X in the story, this Malcolm, the way he's depicted by Adair, is not too forgiving to those who have a different viewpoint than his, and we'll leave that right there, right? It's well written. The dialogue is well written. Let me tell you, Aldous Hodge, he embodies Jim Brown. It looks like he put on a little muscle weight to embody that Jim Brown character totally. But Jim Brown's negritude, he captures Jim Brown's negritude, right? And at first I wasn't catching Adair's portrayal of Malcolm X, because he plays him so vulnerable. It's like he's smiling more, and it's about he and his wife and his children early on in the piece, and he's not the fiery orator, but the caring husband and father at the beginning of the piece. So it kind of threw me off until we get into the hotel room and the discussions begin. You know, Odom Jr. plays Sam Cooke, right? Like, no one really knows what Sam Cooke was like except for people who were around during that time. Like, we don't have, like, we have still photographs.
Right.
right? So we know that he was about dressing smooth, looking smooth, representing. He didn't have a conker lean. He had the low cut afro. So we know that he was about representing his blackness. We can tell that, right? Black is beautiful. We can tell that, but there's not moving images of him too much, so we don't know him, or at least I haven't seen it. Have you seen moving images of him too much, right? So we don't know what it's like, but he seems, from what we've seen in the imagery and what people have wrote about him and about in the documentary, right? The documentary on the killings, the two killings of Sam Cooke, right? That's playing on HBO, I believe, right? Or no, it's Netflix, right?
Yeah.
We can, from that, draw what it is, and the writer, Mr. Kemp, brought that to life in this story. And Odom Jr. brings the words and embodies what we will believe Sam Cooke to be like. A man who owned his own masters, a man who knew how the music business worked and was working towards, he was early Master P.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was early Master P.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, so many others that own their masters, right?
Yeah.
He was early that. So James Brown, the contemporary of his, James Brown owned his, right? So there were people out there. Ray Charles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Ray Charles owned his own. So, you know, he was blind, but not blind. Right? So this is very important, right? So, and then there comes Cassius Clay. All right, Cassius Clay, portrayed by again
Eli Gorey.
Eli Gorey actually brings Cassius to life, right? He doesn't try to do a caricature of Cassius Clay then, or a caricature of Ali, right? He does a representation of Ali's spirit, which brings these four in this room, right? In the subsequent scenes, prior and post to being in the room, are just bring this story to life, right? So, well put together. Regina King, you see her influence on this, because she purposefully wanted Malcolm to be vulnerable in this film, because he was making a life-changing decision, and it appeared that he believed that he needed some backing, some people who have his back to stand alongside him while he made this life-changing decision, right? Which we're going to see more of probably in Godfather of Harlem. That'll be coming up, right?
Yeah, season 2.
Season 2 will be coming up. So
Regina King, she's a really great actress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that really great actors, they have like this special touch, and their directorial debuts are just great? Because if you think about Ma Rainey, Denzel Washington directed that, right? And then we know Clint Eastwood is also a director. So do you think there's just like something?
Well, they know in front of the camera, so they understand the actor.
And Spike Lee too, also, right? Because he's an actor also, and he directs.
Right. So so they understand what's inside the actor, the insecurity, the necessity to build up the confidence to deliver a great performance, right? So they understand that, right? And then they have learned from asking questions of the cinematographer, of the key grip, of the electrician,
Right.
of the director, of the assistant directors, how films are made, how to compose a shot, how to block, you know, from the other side of the camera, as well as knowing how to block as a actor in front of the camera, right? So they understand this, so they come from the world of in front of the camera, and once they get behind the camera, they have more of a passion because they understand, they have a middle standing, an overstanding of what it is, what the motivation of the actor is.
Because Tyler Perry does it too, right?
Yes.
Now that I think about it, and then Kenya Barris did it when he put his Black as F on
Black
Netflix.
AF, hashtag Black AF.
Right, on Netflix, right? So yeah, they bring a special touch. Like you said, it's that behind the scenes experience.
That's right, especially with Fences. Fences was Denzel's.
Oh, he directed that also.
Yes,
Oh, that was great.
Right. Let's rate this boy now. Okay. Cinematography is a 10.
Yeah.
Story through line
Right.
is a 10. Beautifully executed. Beautifully. I'm gonna add in another category: blocking and actor's choice together. Blocking and the actor's choice through the direction of Regina King. That is a 10 because there was a certain amount of vulnerability that was shown not only in the Malcolm X character but every single character, right? Then the acting prowess and the arc of the character by the actor, that's a 10, right? The set location and the locations where they shot, the wardrobing and the vintage cars of that time period, that's a 10, right? Lighting, yeah, I mean you can see the lighting. It is a low key shot. Like to shoot outside, it takes a lot to get a shot because you're dealing with 500 watt lights to bring about. It's bright, but in the end you get that shot as if it's night. It takes a lot to pull that off, and Regina King, she did it, right? She did her thing with dealing with the electricians, because the director has a lot that he has to deal with. He has to deal with the cinematographer, who is then dealing with the electrician, right? And they have to work together to make sure that the image is right, so that what you catch in the camera, you don't have to do too much post manipulation. That's what makes great filmmaking, when you can catch the color and the image without needing to do post work, right? That's what makes great filmmaking, right? Let's see. The director, I have to throw the director in there, Regina King. I have to give her a 10 for this, right? The actors as an ensemble, that's a 10, right? So what would you rate One Night in Miami?
You know, definitely a 10. And you know how I love films like this, right? Ensemble cast. And a 10 for everything you said. And just to think, like, I used to watch 227, right? So I see Regina King as a child star, right? And then she becomes a great actress, and now she's moving into being a great director. It's just nice to see, like, the growth over the years, right? And the story is just well written. Kent Powers, he did a great job, because it's as if you feel like you're a fly on the wall.
Yes.
Right? And it was just a great film.
And who knew, well, we're going to let you discover that for yourself, but who knew that this was actually, that certain people were in the room when Ali won the fight? Because they don't tell you those things, because the historians, the Caucasian historians, separate people apart. So who would have known? Go ahead.
No, I mean, just bravo. I mean, because you know a film is a great film when you want more. Like, you want a part 2. You know, can this be a miniseries, you know? And just like with Watchmen, right? So when Watchmen ended, Regina King's, the film she starred in on HBO, I was like, okay, is there going to be a season 2? I want more.
Mm-hmm.
So same with this film. I mean, it's just a great film. Definitely a 10.
Definitely a 10.
Yeah.
Okay.